Right, on to this week's Coronation Street then. I don't think there's going to be anything quite so controversial this week as there was with everything Toya-related last week, which seems to have been forgotten about somewhat, hasn't it?
I think we could just maybe collectively delete last Wednesday's episode.
Well, I still stand by what I said. It was a great performance.
But did we really need that? I don't know, but I don't know, I'm in two minds. Do I want it to have been for a greater purpose that will be revealed?
If there is one, like I said, I'm happy to stand by it. I know lots of people are still very much against the retcon, but it does, like we said, it seems to be just leading towards this affair with Toya and Nick, which was it hinted at this week? I can't even remember. I think the story only appeared on Monday. But yeah, at the moment, I'm not necessarily feeling the benefit of the reveal, but that's block filming for you. I'm sure that given 2 weeks time, maybe we'll be able to talk about it again. Yeah. Now, this week felt like it was a bit of a fillerish week for me. It had the Paul storyline was front and center, which is what I've been asking for all this time. Don't get me wrong. We got Denny as a new character. Everything else felt a little bit playing second fiddle to it. And there was some.
We got Denny and Demi.
We had a bit of Denny, we had a bit of Demi, but no Debbie this week, sadly. That would have made the
could have had a
trio.
convention.
Yeah. But yeah, we had the Steve storyline, which was very light. We had a little bit of Liam, a little bit of Alya and Adam. Even the Roy story wasn't huge, was it? I know he had a bit of a hospital trip, but that hospital trips for characters don't really have the impact on me that they're supposed to have anymore.
That's why they had to make Paul wait in the car park. So we've got to change the sheets because Roy's been turfed out.
yeah, you're right. We had, oh no, Roy's got to be whisked to the hospital. He's fine by the end of the episode. Oh no, Paul's got to be whisked to the hospital. He's okay.
When Roy went to hospital, did you think, oh no, what's wrong with Roy? Or did you think, oh,
I don't know,
not eating properly?
Yeah, I assumed it was because he was not eating.
Were we supposed to be worried though? Because I was like,
I think we're always supposed to be worried when characters suddenly have a little what's it called when you have a little swoon?
Have a swoon.
But it happens too often now.
Exactly.
Losing. So
when we cut back from break and Paul was kind of collapsed a little bit with his eyes open, it's like, oh gosh.
What if he's actually dead?
Because there was that scene when I know we're talking about this prematurely, but when Bernie's opening the door and Dev's there, I was kind of expecting somebody to burst in and tell her that Paul had died or something, because I think I don't think this is how they're going to do it. No, this is how it happens in real life. Sometimes people die completely unexpectedly, and I think that would be kind of.
You mean in real life they don't have an episode where they just make up with all their friends that they've fallen out with and
everyone gathers around the bed.
Yeah. Oh god.
Except for one major character who's a bit late.
Usually I'm all for a surprise twist death, but I think that
it's not.
It doesn't feel right for Paul yet.
No.
That today no.
But it would be a bit like that episode of Buffy, and if you've seen Buffy, you'll know what I mean. But that was one of the worst, most shocking deaths ever. That was the worst episode.
I have literally no idea what
but it was amazing.
Right, so let's run down our stories for this week. We're going to start off with Bad Penny, Dad Denny.
Right.
That's not too bad, is it?
I don't know what you expect from me.
Wow, what a brilliant storyline title, Mark. Come on. I know it's been nearly 12 years, but I still
when's
I
it
like
going to be 12 years?
Bit of appreciation.
Because you said we can start doing it when we get to 12, didn't you?
I don't think I did. I don't think I remember saying that. We've got the Demi Amore story, which was the storyline title we coined last week, and I was getting a bit worried on Monday and Wednesday that we wouldn't be able to use it this week, but Demi did show up on Friday, so Demi Amore it is. We had a little bit more of the On Roymand, a return to the Alya Wanted and More, which is up there with one of our worst storyline titles. Right, do you get this one, Gemma? This is going to see how well you are down with the kids. So Liam's been having a bit of a traumatic time recently, and he's doing some martial arts, so I thought I'd call this storyline Liam Payne.
Is that a computer game?
No.
Is that a boxing man?
No.
Is it a rap man?
No.
Is it a TikToker?
I don't think so.
What is it then?
He's in One Direction, Liam Payne.
I don't think that's down with the kids,
P-A-Y-N-A.
Michael. I think One Direction is...
Is it not? Do I not? They passed it. I did have to look this one up.
They're not a band anymore, are they?
I've got
Or
no
am I
idea.
really
Is Harry
upsetting
Styles
people?
One Direction?
Harry
Is that what he's
Styles,
from? I couldn't name
but
any of the
he's
other
by
ones.
himself now, isn't he? And is Alex Zane? He's got a radio show. Was he?
Alex Zane. I see. I don't know.
Who's
I don't know the
members?
names of members of One Direction.
Right, Harry Styles, 2016, Michael.
Okay.
Liam Payne. He seems to be the only one left in it. Because everyone else has got a date. 2016, 2015,
okay.
He's just still there.
Well, we'll finish off the Leanne Institute storyline. Not that there was very much of it.
Why did One Direction
I love
split?
a bit of Rowan and Leanne and Toyo, and I felt sadly underserved on this week, but we still had to chat about it a little bit. Gemma, you volunteered to do the Bad Penny Dad Denny storyline, didn't you? So stop your voggling about One Direction like you're a teenage girl.
I'm just trying to remember. Do I know what songs do I know?
No,
that's what
look
makes
up
you
One
beautiful.
Direction.
Is that a song
God,
they
should have
did?
brought it up. Maybe.
Yes,
I don't know. God.
And that's literally the only one I've ever
feel
heard
old.
of.
Gemma, what has been Paul up to this week? He's had a rough old time, hasn't he?
Do you remember when you were young and you're like, I can't believe that grown-ups don't care about any of this stuff. This is the most vital thing that's ever happened.
I really, really do remember. I remember one
Like,
of
why
my
don't
teachers
you
at
care?
primary school, like, not really knowing or caring what was in the charts.
And you're like,
I'm
how could
what
you be so out of touch? Like, this is the only thing that matters. I'll never not know what's
It's
number
probably
one.
been a good 10, 15 years since I've not known what's in the charts.
I don't even listen to the radio.
I've never listened to the radio.
No, I
Podcasts where
absolutely
it's at,
hate it.
baby.
I find it really annoying. Right.
Anyway, Paul and Denny and Bernie and Gemma and a bit of Billy.
Right. Billy helps Paul get dressed on Monday.
Go on, tell me this story, Gemma.
He's doing his radio appearance that day.
With Amy.
And Paul's saying, I don't think that they'll understand me. And Billy said, it's what you say, not how you say it.
Because of his voice.
He's being very, supportive here, but you do need to be understood, as I'm just demonstrating. But you can understand Paul, and I think Peter Ash is doing a very good job. I don't know. He's got coaching of some kind. He's doing.
I don't know.
Well,
I could only assume so because there's not anything in his performance that is unbelievable to me. Not that I've been listening to MND afflicted people on the radio or in real life, but I completely buy his, and it's not coming off as like...
Well, it's a very sensitive thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah, because if you do it wrong, it makes it
difficult.
sound like you're making fun of people.
It's very difficult, but he's doing a really great job.
Yeah.
Then we get this really frustrating scene. This week was all about the kind of setbacks and inconveniences that disabled people have to deal with.
Hashtag taking the diss, Shirley Houston.
So they're waiting for the taxi, and when it turns up, it's not at all suitable for his wheelchair. And the man's like, "Well, they'll sort you out at the office, but I can't help you." And he just drives off and leaves him there. And then when he turns up at the radio station, he gets like the toilets aren't open, and then they're being used for storage or something. Like, why just store crisps in there?
That's great. I loved it because Bernie was like, "Yeah, I stole a packet of Quavers there," and then you see her sitting eating the Quavers afterwards. Quavers are like totally a Bernie crisp. They're the ultimate 90s snack. I know you still get them these days, but I love a Quaver. I think that's probably
Quavers
my favourite.
are great.
My favourite crisp adjacent snack.
They're certainly not posh crisps though, are they?
They are not posh crisps.
Ardy wouldn't eat those as a treat. No. So he's about to do this interview when he gets a call from his MND group, and it turns out that they have lost their funding for where they meet, and he talks to about this to Amy in this interview. He talks about how difficult it was to get to where he's going. It's like, it's bad enough for having MND, but it's also people's attitudes and lack of understanding, and this could happen to anybody, and we need to help each other out. And now my MND group doesn't even have anywhere to meet, and then he drops an F-bomb, and Amy's like, uh-oh, and then turns it off.
See, I didn't buy it. Nobody in Coronation Street ever swears, but they've had a couple of times over the years characters accidentally doing it and then Corrie finding hilarious ways to cover it up. But it doesn't seem genuine to me, you know? I just don't see any of the Weatherfield residents as being swearers, and flipping and pigging is the most you're going to get. I mean, it didn't...
I would love to watch an episode of that, because, like, I bet you in real life, quite a few of those characters would just be effing and blinding the whole time.
Of course they would.
I would love to see an episode where people just spoke completely naturally, and, like, who do you think swears? Paul and Bernie definitely all the time.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I think probably Steve might do.
Yeah, Steve. I was thinking Steve.
He's just stifling.
Yeah.
Some real...
Right, so the interview's over, and Amy's a bit concerned. And when they reconvene later, she gets at the Rovers. They're all sort of talking about how it went.
Well, yeah, Amy's worried that she's going to lose her job. I don't get this, really. I think it probably is a natural reaction, but I was still, as I was watching this, thinking, oh no, they just threw that in for a bit of drama. Paul doesn't swear, of course not.
Yeah, but that's the perspective that you've got from being a grown-up.
Yeah, I know.
Like, but when you're younger, you kind of think everything's the worst thing.
I suppose for Amy, this was like her debut,
and she's a
student radio. Yeah, I don't think Amy swears.
Amy doesn't swear.
No. Although, tell you what, Blanche, she would, wouldn't she?
Right.
So yeah, she's worried she's going to lose it, but it's not her fault that if a guest swears, and she did it.
I'm sure that almost every person who's ever done a live interview has had a moment where somebody almost did or definitely.
I can't remember. I'm trying to think. Out of all the Corrie interviews that I've done, I think I have. I think I've had the odd swear here and there. I can't remember whether I bleeped them or whether.
Goodness me, we don't say that around here.
I don't think I've ever bleeped anyone. I think I just like.
I think most of the people that you interview are very media aware, and they know you don't just go on an interview and start swearing.
No, it's right. They know.
So Amy gets a phone call and she's like, "Oh no. What's that? The show's gone viral. Record streaming figures."
Students love people with MND moaning about how everyone's always taking the diss.
I found this very difficult to believe that, I mean, like, I don't want to be...
We're just jealous. What's your secret, Amy?
This wasn't the most powerful part of Paul's story by any means. There's nothing overly moving about the conversation. There's nothing to top any part of his story as far as like how interesting it, because we know everything he was saying, kind of. I mean, the stuff about access was new, but
it felt a bit shoehorned in,
silly.
Especially like on his way there. Oh, the taxi can't get him. There's quavers in the toilet. So now he's going to talk about this.
No, but I didn't find that unbelievable. But just it's like, oh, we normally get 5 listeners, now we've got 10. It's double.
What I want to know is, like, did people start listening to it and then just start texting all their mates, going, guys, you gotta switch on Weatherfield Uni FM or whatever it is that Amy goes to. I mean, it seemed to have done the job because flipping Denny was listening to it, wasn't he, in his car?
Was he?
Like, well, yeah, he's listened to it. He's like, oh,
I know he was listening to because Amy says that Weatherfield radio is going to do something on it, and then do you remember they were all sitting around the table and then she picks up the radio and like turns it on, and they all go, let's listen now because it's definitely on now.
Oh yes, you're right. So it did spread.
So the students are setting up a funding group. Yeah, it must be after the fact because they set up this fundraiser for the MND group, right, and then this bloke, this dodgy man in his van, is listening to the radio interview discussion and writes down Paul Foreman and Weatherfield on it, like, yeah, definitely find him now.
Tell you what, when you have a harsh interviewer for Paul, it's Foreman grilled. There we go, little chuckle for you there.
Do you know that guy called all of his children George Foreman?
No.
Yes, true.
So yeah, we were led to wondering at the end of Monday's episode who could that be. Sadly, I had seen a spoiler. Had you seen the spoiler? Did you know what it was? I don't think you did.
I don't know.
What do you think about the idea that Paul's dad has been brought in at this stage?
I hated it. I thought it was terrible.
Why?
I don't like this at all. It reminds me of what happened with Hayley. Oh, a character's going to die, so let's bring in a bunch of family members that you've never heard of.
With Hayley,
to
though,
cause trouble.
With Hayley, when Christian came back into it, we had heard of him. We just kind of hoped to forget about him. To me, it makes sense because Paul's father had always been a bit of a mystery, hadn't it? And if you're going to bring him in, you might as well bring him when his son's on his last legs. We don't need a load of extra characters, but in a way, it would have almost felt a bit odd if they hadn't brought him up or mentioned him. It is probably a fairly easy idea to come up with. And I quite enjoyed watching the character, so it didn't bother me quite so much.
Cool. Good for you.
Yeah, it's good for me, thank you.
I'm just looking up George Foreman's.
I know you are. I could tell you were distracted. Go on, Wednesday. What went on with Paul then?
I've got to tell you what his kids are called.
Just like One Direction. I need to confiscate your phone when we podcast.
Listen.
Honestly.
Right, he's got 12 kids.
Yeah.
He's got 5 sons. He's got 7 daughters.
Are they George and Georgina?
5. No, his daughters are called Natalia, Leola, Frida, Michi, Georgetta, Isabella.
Georgetta! That's not a name. Sorry, any Georgettas listening.
And Courtney. His sons are called George Jr., George the 3rd, George the 4th, George 5th, and George the 6th.
Nice. Named after British royalty. Hope they
Why
didn't all
did he
turn
start
mad.
at 3?
Right, come on. Wednesday. What's
Well,
Paul and Denny been up to?
Okay, right. The crowdfunding has done really well. They've got over £2,000. Where was this money when they needed like the wheelchair and the stair lift and the new door?
And the new door, yeah. If he'd have known, all he had to do was get on the radio.
And also, what are they going to do? So the council, what are they going to do with it? You said, they're just going to have it probably at the...
Yeah, they're going to find somehow for the MND group to meet at the community centre.
Selfish Yasmin hadn't sold the community centre. Who owns it now?
Nobody. Nobody important.
I mean, to be honest, I don't think that the community centre is really that accessible. I don't know. Is it? I mean, it's ground floor, but
yeah, there's a bit of a step up, isn't there? It's not really wheelchair accessible,
is it?
Yeah, I don't think I'm not expecting to see the MND group in there. I don't think we need the MND group to make an appearance.
No.
It's about Paul. It's Paul's story. It's not about Paul and others.
Gemma sees Maria in the street and says, "Look at this crowdfunder. Do you reckon it's going to change the council's decision?" And she's like, "Oh, it might do, but even if it doesn't, I'm going to contribute to it." And so Paul and Gemma said they should go down the council to kick up a fuss. Honestly, use your brain here, Gemma. If the council see that you can raise £2,000 for an MND support group, why would you fund it?
Yeah.
It's like the blooming air ambulance. Why am I giving money to the air ambulance? This should be included in my taxes. I think we should stop supporting it to force the government to pay for this bloody thing. Don't you think?
Yeah, everybody stop donating to charity.
Stop donating to charity.
Get the government to do it. And but I don't. I think there's.
But do you see what I mean? Like, the logic there is that
the council, the public funding,
the council is not going to go, "Oh, well, in that case, we'll match it," are they?
They might do just for general tweeness in the storyline.
Denny sneaks up on Bernie in the street, the dad, the guy we saw in the van, and he says, "Oh, I heard our Apollo's dying on the radio," and
I don't know whether he said it quite like that, but thanks for reading my notes, literally.
By the way he was at the end of the week,
I
wouldn't be surprised if he did. So Bernie does not want him to have anything to do with Paul, so she tells him that he's actually already dead. Doesn't go into the details and asks Denny to leave her alone so she can grieve in peace. And Denny's like, "Oh, you should have told me." Surely he's also thinking, how was he just on the radio then?
No, Bernie said it was a repeat. That answers your question, doesn't it?
It was a repeat, but the radio guy's like, "I have no more information about this. No updates at all that might help people give more money to this fundraiser." So Bernie lets herself in the flat. Denny follows after her, and he kind of hides on the stairs for ages.
Yeah, I know.
Because he gets in through the door, and then he comes up after they've had this very long conversation. And Paul's got this new neck brace thing, and they're talking about that. And then Denny walks in, going, "All right, Apollo, you're looking pretty good for a dead man." Which I think, if I'm Paul and I don't know the context of this, I'd be really offended.
Yeah.
Paul can't believe that Bernie said that he was dead. And Bernie says, "I was just trying to protect you." And then Gemma's there also in the flat at the same time. And she's fuming about the fact that he's there. And Denny doesn't care. It's like water for ducks back. They go to the pub together, him and Paul, and God, Denny's like got no filter at all, does he? He goes,
no, but I was thinking that like maybe Paul needs a bit of this. I think even Paul was feeling it himself, that, you know, people are pussyfooting around him and
he's got
being
this
careful of
attitude
what
himself.
they're saying.
He obviously gets some of this off Denny.
Yeah.
So he's saying, "Oh, I always knew you would turn out gay," and then he buys some drinks and he pays with cash and he says, "I'm a dying breed, no offence." And Paul's
He was funny.
kind of mad at Denny being for deep. Oh,
What?
Abby just jumped like up in the air for no reason. That was weird. He says, I don't even know. He's a deadbeat dad, and Denny says, "I've changed, I promise." So Paul tells Denny that even though I hate you because you're a terrible dad, I am happy to have a pint with somebody who's not fussing over me.
So we haven't said so far, but the story that we're led to believe at some point during this episode was that he abandoned them and beat them up, didn't he? They said Denny beat the kids up when they were little.
Did they bring this up in this episode?
Yeah, I think so.
It was definitely established before this point that. But I always thought that Paul was raised by Denny and Gemma was raised by Bernie. That was a story at one point.
Oh yeah, because people are asking why do they have different surnames. Is Denny Foreman? I didn't actually check the credits. I'm not sure
Didn't
about
look
that.
at it.
Well, it might. Yeah, maybe. I don't think it particularly matters.
So he's just, you know, not just a what's the word, deadbeat dad, but also a dad that beat them.
Mm.
So Billy's trying to convince Gemma and Bernie that whatever Denny did in the past is a good thing to reconnect now, and they don't agree. Like, also, it's like, if you're in a situation where family members are like estranged from one another and you don't know the story, maybe don't tell them to like make friends with each other. If you know.
Well, Billy is a vicar. He's a bit of a peacemaker.
No, you told me he's not. He quit.
I know, but he's still got it in his blood.
Bernie says we shouldn't have really let Paul go off with him, and Billy says, well, they've just gone for a cup of tea. What could go wrong?
Oh yeah, because that was their original story, wasn't it? That they were just going to go for a cuppa.
So meanwhile, they're getting completely drunk, and then Paul smashes a glass, and Jenny sweeps it up, but she sort of tells Paul that he's had a bit too much. And Denny thinks this is nonsense, and so when they leave, they go to the off license to get some more booze.
How were you watching any of this thinking? I guess it's bad that he was drinking too much. I mean, Billy was clearly didn't think it was the right thing to do. I don't know at this stage. You know, should Paul be drinking more in moderation, or is he still?
I don't think anyone's got any right to tell Paul what to do.
Well, that's kind of.
I think he should start.
I was thinking. I mean, I
think he should start smoking.
He's only allowed liquids, so
start smoking, start drinking. What can you shoot up? Find all the drugs.
Yeah, it was quite nice to see him have a good time because
he's drunk, but he's had alcohol plenty of times. He's got a special straw for his beer. It's not. I mean, he did get a bit too sloshed, and it was unfortunate because he ended up in hospital. But I did see people on Twitter saying the same thing, like, "Oh, should Paul really be drinking?" And I looked it up, and you know, even the NHS is like, if you drink, you drink. Just make sure you don't choke.
I like Jenny in that scene. I appreciated her being there because when she sort of said to Paul, "I think you've had enough." It wasn't in a scolding way.
No, it was in a really caring
I care about you way. So
yeah. The only thing that the guidance is that alcohol, you know, can make you cough, like if it restricts your throat a little bit, so you might have to dilute it with water.
Yeah, okay.
What's the point of what's the worst thing that can happen? I mean, we saw
we pretty much saw it the next day.
But that was because he was with somebody that wasn't really helping him out.
Yeah, I think it wasn't the best idea to let him go off with his dad, who knew nothing about how to look after him.
No, that's completely right. And
then they did it again the next day. Well, Paul left Paul alone in the flat with Denny.
I find that very hard to believe that they would believe that he had any idea what to do, because even if you the best will in the world and you want to help, which he obviously doesn't, you need to know how to do things. Like,
yeah, it's like you wouldn't leave your baby with somebody who has never looked after a baby before.
If he needs to do, what do I need to do? How much help does he need? Or if I have to like lift him in his chair, what's the best way of doing it? Like, is there a way that I'm going to hurt myself? Billy.
Yeah, so in a way, I do kind of partly blame Paul's family for allowing this to happen.
Yeah, just because you're someone's dad doesn't mean anything.
No, it's not a natural.
No. It's not like I naturally know how to deal with my child who's got MND.
No.
Right, so they get back to the flat and they're completely sloshed, and Billy and Benny are not impressed at all. And Paul's like, I'm fine, it's just a couple of drinks, I'm just trying to cheer myself up. And then he throws up all over himself.
That was quite a shocking moment.
I know.
I wasn't expecting that. It was a bit, and it was a as with everything else in Peter's performance, very, very raw, kind of like, oh, this is, the realities of living with something like this. And
I think it's also the realities of just being completely, I was going to say a different word, drunk.
You were about to do a Paul on the radio there, were you?
I was going to get fined.
We don't have swearing on this podcast, madam. So I didn't enjoy it, but it was like more than I would expect Corrie to do. I would maybe have thought it would have happened off screen, or I don't know.
People could throw up on television.
Well, but usually when people are sick on telly, what we see is their head in the toilet bowl. We don't usually see the sick coming out.
Yes, you do.
Do you? Oh, I guess I'm not watching the right kind of programmes.
Yeah, I watch programmes all the time.
Not pre-Watershed vomit. I wasn't ready for that. But yeah, you could tell that at this moment that Denny felt completely in over.
Denny's like, catch you later.
Like, I'm going. I'm not staying around here
catch
to mop up my son's sick. Thank you very much.
At the end of the episode, Bernie catches up with Denny and says, look, bugger off. And he says, oh, I've got a little secret that you don't want getting out, so I'll be calling the shots. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Interesting.
That secret is heavily hinted at in the next episode. We don't get to find out what it was.
I think I know what it is now, yeah.
I was hoping that it would be revealed properly so we didn't have to speculate quite so much in today's episode. But
right.
Friday.
Dev's listening to Bernie rant about Denny in the shop, and he's like, do you want me to have a word with him? And he's got his golf club in his hand, and she's like, no, I don't. This is fine. In the flat, Paul's getting a lecture off Billy. Paul does not want to hear this, but Denny comes around later and he wants to watch a DVDs with him, and Billy gives him disapproving looks, but Paul says, look, I'll be absolutely fine.
But Billy has to go and see Mr. Finnegan, the grieving parishioner.
Yeah, so he buggers off. What was his plan before this?
Well, who? Billy?
Yeah.
To probably be a bit of the fun police as.
What do you
mean? Between Paul and
Denny. Billy's got this plan to go see this parishioner. So what was he going to do? Just bring Paul?
Yeah, maybe.
And Paul's sitting there. This is awkward. So he leaves them. But Billy leaves them together, and then Denny's like, right, I'm going to go get some ice cream. Yeah,
before Billy goes, just for plot purposes, he said, "Now don't leave Paul on his own, Denny.
He might die."
Yeah.
So Paul's like, Denny says, "I'm going to the shop to get some ice cream." Paul says, "Yeah, that's fine, don't worry about it." But he looks really nervous. And then when Denny is at the shop, Gemma walks in, and she says, "Where's Paul?" And he says, "Oh, that bloke's with him." She's like, "What? His husband, Billy?" And then he asks her, "Can I meet my grandkids, the quads?" And she says, "No." And he's like, "Oh, but that's not fair. I've been hearing about them all. People have been talking. Every time anyone talks about you on Coronation Day, they always go, those bloody quads. I can't wait to meet them."
See, did you think this was genuine? I thought when we saw Denny and the quads together, he did actually seem interested in seeing them and he wanted to connect. That's why I don't think he's a thoroughly 100% bad egg. Don't you think?
What's
because he's kind of being. I don't know why I'm just turned into the Denny defender today.
I know.
But I enjoyed watching him, and yes, clearly by the end of today's episode, if it wasn't already clear, he is a proper wrong-un. But it's not like everything that he was doing had an ulterior motive. I think at this point he really did want to see his kids. He wasn't just like his grandkids. Sorry, he wasn't looking for an excuse to avoid going back to Paul.
Yeah. So what though? It doesn't mean he's a good person.
No, it doesn't. It just I just don't want him to. I don't want to say that he's.
They've done a good job of making him a bit more
fleshed
fleshed out than a normal villain.
Yeah.
which is better than like the normal kind of obvious ne'er-do-well that we get. Gemma's not keen for them to meet him, but he to Saram, and so they go to the cafe, and
he shows them some magic tricks, doesn't he?
In the flat, Paul starts to have trouble breathing, and he is kind of he has to take his brace off, and he can't catch his breath at all.
He's all red.
Yeah. And he is starting to going red. He can't breathe. So he manages to phone 999 and he asks for an ambulance, but he drops the phone on the floor, and then we have an advert break.
It was funny that we saw between that advert break and the next one, we saw very little of Paul, didn't we? Because they came back from the advert break and they had scenes and scenes and scenes from the other stories, and I was like, oh yeah, what's going on with Paul? But I would have thought that, you know, if you are connected through to an ambulance, and they must have heard something. Don't they send someone out to go and check anyway?
Yes.
If you're asked, oh, sorry.
Yeah, but they did though, didn't they? Because the ambulance arrived. He called the ambulance.
No, but I thought that was when... Didn't somebody... Yeah, no, I thought there was Denny called the ambulance once he came back. I don't think it was...
The ambulance was already coming because you could hear in the background the sirens.
Oh, could you? Okay, I missed that. Fine.
So he doesn't need your help, Michael. Bernie goes home and looks at some of Paul's baby things, and Dev comes in and she's got this bundle of letters, and he can tell that she's hiding something, and she says something like... She starts asking Dev about his kids.
Yeah, she's looking at these things, like there's these little baby booty things, and there is, you're right, there was this bundle of letters, and I don't think that we found out what the letters were. Did we?
No, originally I thought maybe they're from Denny when they were romancing or something, but then...
It feels like it's a bit dangerous to have around the house. If you've got a baby box, you don't want to have anything there that's going to cause any awkward questions when your kids start looking through it. Because people like looking through their parents' baby books that they had for them, didn't they? I certainly do. We got ours in the attic right now.
Yeah.
So if that's in there and Paul and Gemma could have got into there... She's playing a very dangerous game if there's something, if there's some dirty secret in there. But she
uses the phrase.
She makes some reference to all my children, doesn't
kids.
she? And I don't think she's talking about that soap opera.
And then she talks to Dev about the fact that he's got children that he doesn't see.
Which we've just been bringing up on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, haven't we? That was obviously been listening to us.
Well, can we not connect the dots here?
What?
What do you think's going on?
Well, yeah, it seems that she's got a secret child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Denny turns up on Monday and tells her, I know your secret, and I'll tell them. And she's got these letters, and she asks Dev about his kids, and then she says, all my children. And she says something about, makes you think, or... She's clearly thinking about her other... because also, again, this is kind of like with Toya. Why did this not come up before? Because you would have thought that Bernie, when she found out her son had this condition, she was really scared that she had given it to him. And then is it not genetic in some way?
I can't remember.
But wouldn't you be like, oh my God, if I've got another child, a secret child, should I not tell them?
Well, it depends whether she's got a secret child and whether that secret child is still alive.
Maybe
she could have. She could have a baby buried in the red wreck as well. There could be a whole collection of them there. You imagine one day a scene where Toya goes there and Bernie's like, "What are you doing there? What are you doing there? Nothing."
Looking at this beautiful rose, which is completely right and normal to grow
to be blooming at this time of year. So it feels like she's got a secret child with Denny. Maybe, or
I'm not sure.
Maybe she had an affair when she was with Denny. I can't remember what they've said, if they even said anything about what the relationship status between them was.
Denny snipe at her and say something about when your back gets to the wall, you'd do anything.
Yeah, maybe.
What does that mean? Does that mean would you sleep around for money, or
maybe
give your baby up?
Yeah, I wonder. She could have done, couldn't she? I mean, the fact that we know one of the only things that we know about Bernie back in the 90s and 80s was that she was a proper party animal, raver, druggie. Denny brings up later in the episode, it's your fault that Paul's got MND. I'm surprised that line didn't affect her more, because that's what she was saying.
No, but she knows it's not true.
She does know it's not true, but she also knows that's been her kind of fear and that it's been eating her up inside. She had that scene with Abby last year, didn't she?
Did.
And you can know it's not true at all. But if somebody, uncovers something that you've buried over, it's gonna affect you.
Bernie's strong enough to not affect her.
So yeah, she. We can assume she has a secret child.
Again, not excited about that.
No. I don't need her to have a secret child. It's going to be like, Peter Barlow leaves one day, the next day Bobby rocks up. So is Paul's secret good brother going to turn up at his funeral maybe, or sister or whatever? What?
Maybe. Okay.
You got a theory?
No. Imagine if this secret child was a triplet.
Ooh, yeah.
And it's just Paul's identical twin brother, and we get to keep Peter Ash.
That would be a twist. That would be a silly twist.
I would allow that.
I would allow that.
I really have a soft spot now.
No, I don't think I would allow that.
I would. Yeah, that's fine.
Can you imagine Peter Ash coming in playing a completely different character?
Oh my god, I want it to happen so bad.
Well, I mean, it would fit, wouldn't it? Because obviously we know that Bernie's got a twin sister in old Clayton from when she was... what was that character's name? I can't remember, in the 80s. No, that would be silly. That would be silly. But
she's also got that Fern.
Oh yeah, Fern as well. Of course.
No.
I was talking about the other character that Jane Hazelgrove played.
Okay.
So yeah,
a lot of replica faces on Coronation Street.
People finding that they've discoveries that characters have got estranged family members that possibly should have been brought up before now is not my most exciting type of soap story, especially like you said, considering we've only just had the Toya revelation last week.
Well, we've only just found his long lost father, and now we've got a long lost child as well.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think that the child is dead or alive?
Alive, because I think it's too tempting.
I know, I agree.
And it's going to be Peter Ash. I can't wait.
But well, just imagine if he turns up before Paul dies, and then we'll have Peter.
That's what I thought they would do.
Paul and thingy having a bit of a Spider-Man pointing at each other moment.
Yeah, but how that would be gutting, wouldn't it? Because you'd see yourself like, this is me without MND.
Yeah, I think we can probably put that idea to bed.
I don't know.
No, they'll probably turn up. It depends whether Denny is still in touch with them. Are they dodgy as well? We've talked too much about this. Move on.
So, we've left Paul unable to breathe, Michael.
Oh yeah, sorry Paul, he's probably dead now.
No, he's not. He's okay. Because Denny gets home and he finds him. I thought he was dead, but he's not. He's okay. This is why I'm not a student paramedic like Asher is, because Asher comes and Billy's walking home and he chucks his apples on the floor, and when he sees Paul being put into the ambulance,
yeah, nice to see Asher at last, student paramedic. It did kind of make me think, okay, is she going to turn up every time now? It's like
Craig.
Exactly, it is the concern.
When she was in the ambulance and she was tending to Paul, and she was saying, yeah, I know, I'm just monitoring his oxygen levels to make sure. And I was thinking, oh man, I trust Asher so much more to be a paramedic than I trust Craig to be a policeman.
That's true. I was still watching it thinking, oh, come on, stop pretending. You're just Asher.
You don't know what you're talking about. You're a little girl.
Yeah, I was. It was bad. But I think I didn't. It's inevitable.
I thought she was great.
Now that
I think she did a really good job. She was so competent. I was so proud of her. I was like, oh, I've watched you grow.
She was good, but are we just going to have lots of scenes with paramedics now?
Okay. How would that be different?
I don't know. I'd like to see a scene where she has to, really think on her feet. I mean, what she was doing today was just wheeling Paul into the ambulance and being very reassuring and lovely. I hope that it won't be too long before we get to see a scene where she has to, arrive at the scene of a big accident and she has to think on her feet.
Yes, okay.
Oh, sorry.
I know, but we're trying to get through the story.
Well, I don't think that
Paul's still fighting for his life here, Michael.
Sorry, Paul. Sorry, we know you're fine.
But we cut out all the bit about what Dev says about being guilty, about not being a dad.
Yeah, we did. That was a great. That's I say. That was a brilliant scene.
It gets in the middle of the night, and she's not really opening up about why she's asking him about his other children.
Yeah, this episode was one of many that show how great Jimmy Harkishin is, because he comes in all saying, "I've got an albatross, man." And by the end of that same scene, he's there sobbing his heart out, worrying, thinking what a terrible dad he is. Now he wakes up in the middle of the night thinking, crikey, I've not seen Amber since however long, plus whoever else I've spawned over the years. I'm not expecting this necessarily to lead anywhere. That kind of conversation could, in some circumstances, mean watch out. Dev's kids are on the horizon. They're going to make a comeback. No, I think it means
watch out, but Bernie's kids.
Yeah, it's more like that. But I appreciated it, but it probably also really confused a lot of viewers, because when we've spoken recently about Dev having lots of kids, some of our listeners have gone, what? That's news to me. I thought he only had two. So I bet there were a lot of people watching this evening pretty shocked at the revelation that he has numerous children.
If anything's going to wake me up in the middle of the night and I'm Dev, it's not worrying about Amber, it's thinking, where's Maya?
Yeah, I know.
She must be out of prison now.
He probably does, doesn't he?
She's going to come after me.
Oh, that's the dream.
I know, I want her to. Right. Oh, can you imagine Bernie versus Maya?
Ah, yes.
I think Maya would spit her out.
I think she would.
I don't think Bernie would.
I mean, Bernie's got street smarts, hasn't she?
She wouldn't stand a bloody chance. Anyway.
But but for plot purposes, Bernie probably still would win, wouldn't she? And it'd be a little bit unrealistic.
I think she'd just bonk her on the head. Right, Billy, Paul and Ash are in the ambulance, and they're stuck outside the hospital because there's no bed. And they've been there for like half an hour, and Billy's frantic, and Paul eventually comes round, and Billy's very relieved. And then Gemma finds Denny in the street, and she can't believe that he's not gone to see Paul in the hospital, or that he left him alone in the first place. And she's like, right, you come to the hospital with me. Why on earth would she? I don't understand why. Why would she want that horrible guy? He clearly didn't want to be there.
I think it's more of a case of Paul would want to see you there, because as much as Gemma thinks that, or knows that Denny is a massive waster, well, she doesn't want Paul to wake.
Move.
Yeah,
it was a bad move.
It was in the end, but she doesn't want Paul to wake up and like, where's my dad?
I don't think so.
Oh, that's what I would think.
Well, don't bring my deadbeat dad to my hospital room, please. And he's left me alone to choke to death. So they're in the room later. Gemma and Denny arrive. Literally everyone's there, aren't they? Even Deb's there, Bernie's there, Billy's there. And it turns out that the reason why Paul is in the hospital and can't breathe is because he aspirated some of his vomit.
Yeah, they gave the name of the condition, didn't they? I didn't catch it.
And then they have this argument where this is when Denny accuses Bernie of being responsible for all the pills she popped, and he's like, everyone's like, get lost, nobody wants you here, and then he buggers off. Dev picks Bernie up from the hospital at the end of the day, and also we get to see Denny outside on the phone trying to sell off this electric wheelchair.
Yeah,
like he thinks Paul's gonna die, and does he think Paul's gonna die, or is he just trying to sell the wheelchair from underneath him, literally?
See, this is where I'm really torn, because I.
What, you think he's being a good Samaritan?
No. Because I watched Wednesday's episode thinking, he's not such a bad egg after all. He's clearly somewhat misguided, and he's got this secret on Bernie that he's going to hold over.
I'm sorry, you really think that just because somebody wants to see their grandchildren, it makes them a good person?
No, of course not. But I didn't realise. I think it was that particular moment at the end of today's episode. And also when he wasn't interested in seeing Paul in the hospital, when I was like, okay, I would admit he is 100% a wrong one. Because it looks like I would say he's going to try and sell the wheelchair while Paul still needs it, rather than waiting for him to drop off his perch.
He's going to wait.
Yeah, although he's going to have a hard time getting it down the steps.
Where is it at the moment? Is it still in the flat?
Yeah, I guess it is.
I don't know. It doesn't go upstairs, does it? I think only Paul goes upstairs, and it just is downstairs in the hallway.
Yeah, I can't remember whether we see Paul in his.
Where'd you put your shoes?
Yeah, so maybe that's going to be, next week they'll get back and the wheelchair won't be there. I don't know.
And Denny won't be there.
It's not that thrilling. How did you generally find this story?
Denny I guess he's exactly who I'd have expected Paul and Gemma's dad to be.
Yeah, they've got a good likeness of him, of Paul. I would certainly buy that they're related.
He's clearly charismatic, because you think his sun shines out of his bum, even though
I don't.
He's a criminal.
Just a little crack coming out.
A little crack.
No, I've hugely championed this story all the way, and this week's didn't inspire me as much as some of the others. I think I've preferred like the love story element of Paul and Billy, and adding this extra kink to the story with bringing in another character. Just doesn't necessarily feel needed. There's already a lot going on.
Yeah.
Is this particularly necessary? But like I said earlier, if you're going to bring back Paul's father, then now's the time to do it. And maybe we would have been asking why they didn't if they hadn't. So I can't criticise it too much. They can't win with this, but I still love the story. Yeah, it was good. I thought he was great on the radio. I put on Twitter after the episode that Amy was one to talk, because she was also a bit of an accidental swearer, wasn't she? Do you remember in the panto that they did in the Rovers that one time, where I can't remember what it was. Was it in Cinderella or something? And Amy, I think it was before Elle Mulvaney joined the cast. It was the previous one.
The previous
Amber
one.
Chadwick, was it? I can't remember. And they had her character swear in the middle of the Rovers.
Why did she
and they
say
also
a swear
censored
word?
that. I think there was just a little story where Amy was a bad influence, and she was getting a bit sweary.
Amy was a bad influence.
Yeah, and so she stands in the middle of the stage at the Rovers, because there was a stage somehow able to fit in that corner, and she swears, and it's all censored over by various things. So she's done it. I think Joseph did a swear at one point as well, little Joseph, but I don't know.
Everyone's sworn at least once. Surely in their lives.
Yeah.
Right.
So what did you? Was it worth bringing back Denny?
Yeah.
Yeah, says Gemma. Yeah. So from Denny to Demi then. Demi Amore. I thought that this
I really wanted Demi to just be like a woman version of Tim.
Oh yes, you said that when we were watching it today. If she'd been like somehow the female spit of Tim, that would have been quite hilarious.
Imagine if she'd come in, right, and she'd had exactly the same outfit, because Tim's got these granddad shirts, hasn't he? And he wears a denim jacket over the top. She'd come in, right, and already wearing the same outfit as Tim, and then sat down, and then she'd gone, look, I've done myself up for you and everything, but do you mind? Because it's a bit hot in here, and then just took her hair off.
If she'd have taken her wig off and been bald underneath.
Like, you don't mind, do you, love?
I don't know. It would have only worked if she was clearly a spit of Tim and not just, well, that's weird. It's about they'd have had to have done it some way that it was really obvious that it was a Tim lookalike. That would have been great.
But what if what's the female version of the name Tim? Timina.
I don't know. Tammy.
Yeah.
Timmy and Tammy. Because they could have maybe stretched out this story of Steve and his series of unsuccessful dates, couldn't they? Because Wednesday's episode was all about him meeting that Carol, and that was a really fun episode.
Yeah.
You know, I slag off Steve as much as the next person, but I thought that his story, and actually some of the time him himself, were really quite tolerable this week.
He works better in comedy storylines. I don't know why they try to do anything different with him these days.
Well, sometimes it's too silly still. And I thought Tim was brilliant this week. Joe Datine was given some really funny expressions this week, but not over the top ridiculous. Like when he's like peering in on what Steve's conversation is and getting berated by Sally as well. I thought I really enjoyed this.
Can you imagine?
And I'm kind of, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Tracy can stay in Spain a bit longer as far as I'm concerned. I don't think that anybody needs her to be back in in Weatherfield at the moment.
Well, imagine if his date was called Tammy and she told him it was short for don't call me Tammy. All my friends call me Tam.
Well, you know, maybe who knows? Demi might not be the last.
She might not work out.
Yeah, although she was pretty well suited to him. So Monday is getting is more just about the dating app kind of thing, and that Steve's getting all these hits because he's got this new fancy app that Abby suggested last week, hasn't he? And the episode is basically like, who are we going to go for? And he shows, oh yeah, they had that thing in the cafe where he's showing Kevin a picture of this nice looking lady called Carol, who's the one that he eventually meets. And Abby kind of sticks her beak in and is like, oh, why are men only interested in women about their looks? Oh, and I thought, I think that women do that too. And I don't think that Abby was. It felt out of character for her to
I don't
get
think
her.
Abby would find that offensive. But also,
No.
wasn't everybody taking the mick out of Steve for a stupid picture of himself with a fish?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's a dating app. Pictures kind of count for something. So I don't know what's going on there. It usually, they don't get it wrong with Abby. But that didn't work for me anyway.
Well, she was annoyed with Kevin.
Yeah.
She wasn't annoyed with Steve or Tim or anything. She was annoyed with Kevin oogling.
Yeah.
Maybe she's worried because she's a looker, isn't she? Maybe she thinks she's deficient in personality, and that's why Kevin tolerates her because of her looks.
I don't know.
Not because of her rants and bants.
I'm hoping, I've been hoping that we're going to get more Abby for over a year now, and maybe this is the beginning of something. But, is it the beginning of relationship difficulties between Abby and Kevin? That doesn't particularly fill me with joy and glee because we've already had enough breakups this year. But anyway, that alleyway doesn't particularly get explored this week. But we're back to with Steve, and he's showing Shona a picture of Carol, and she says, she looks a little bit snooty. Did Carol seem snooty when she actually turned up on Wednesday?
No, she just seemed like a normal middle-aged woman.
Yeah, she's fine. So Steve starts to get a little bit worried about this possible snootiness that Carol's going to have. And Abby starts saying again, like, stop going on about how women looks. Just anyone's better than Tracy. Then it turns into a bit of a bitching session about Tracy, doesn't it? And Steve doesn't like it. So we're supposed to infer from that he still hasn't quite got over Tracy.
He's still got lingering feelings.
He does, doesn't he? Which makes sense.
Well, it wasn't his idea for her to fall in love with a footballer.
No. So then we had the scene with Tim and Steve on the bench later, and they talk about, we'd do pretty well together if you were a woman, Tim.
See, Tammy.
That's what gave me the idea, and they kind of snap out of it pretty quickly. They should have when Trevor's on the ident, and he's look, you've just been to Audrey's. I look beautiful. They could have had that with him, couldn't they?
I know this is stupid, and if this happened, we would take the mick out of it. But just imagine how funny it would be if there was a Tammy who just looked like Tim, and then Tim and Tammy met, and they just kept saying the same thing, or saying jokes and saying each other's punchlines. They're just the same person. I'm really passionate.
You're
about
really
this.
invested in this idea now.
Tammy,
female Tim. Anyway, so Wednesday comes and Steve's getting ready for his date with Carol. And he's got 7 shirts to choose from. I'm gonna say, does Steve have 7 shirts? I don't have 7 shirts.
Yes, you do, easily.
No, I've got school shirts.
Michael.
I haven't got...
I know you think they're different, darling, but they're really, really not.
I haven't got 7 shirts. We talked about this in the podcast before. I got my green shirt last year, and that was the first one in many a moon. But I suppose Steve's not really a t-shirt person, is
Michael,
he? So maybe he
here's
does.
a question for you.
What?
A sartorial one. Would you wear jeans on a first date?
Oh yeah, that was odd. Who was it that made fun of him for that?
Sally.
Yeah. What did you wear?
Do you think
I was probably wearing jeans on our first date because I don't have any other trousers.
Michael, did we ever have a first date?
No.
I don't think we did we?
I don't know whether... No, we must have done. That time I took you into town to buy you Crazy Taxi 2 for the jean cast. I think that counts. Probably wearing jeans back then.
Fun times. That wasn't a date.
Do you ever regret missing out on the dating life?
I'm hoping it will still come.
It seems like it's a rite of passage that all human beings go through, and it somehow managed to pass us by.
Lots of human experiences have passed us by.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, so
Sorry.
we're special, aren't we?
That's
got a podcast,
that's why we watch soaps, to get human experiences.
I would have no idea what humans are like if I wasn't watching
we need
Coronation
to educate ourselves.
Yeah. Anyway, they should get Richard Attenborough on to comment for us. Do I mean Richard or I mean David? Which one's the animal man? David.
Richard's dead.
Yeah, let's not get him. Anyway, look, we're digressing far too
Why
much.
would you want him? Why would you want David Attenborough to narrate us? Because he'd be like, "This is weird. What are they doing?"
No. He needs to narrate Coronation Street for us. And explain that this is the kind of... These people are going to a thing called a pub.
Everything you think is weird is normal. Roses in April, totally normal.
Anyway, so Tim's going to the pub. Steve's going to the pub. And he goes there, and Carol comes in with this gaggle of girlfriends. So she's kind of got backup, hasn't she?
She's scared,
yeah.
So she's brought her friends with her.
I liked Carol. She seemed like...
Why is she friends with Aurora?
Yeah, Aurora was far and away the star of the show. She was absolutely brilliant. I think it was an odd decision to make the date of Steve have not a whole lot of personality. She just kind of sat there and
she's just
was
like
generally
just
kind
a
of
normal person,
normal middle-aged, well, not in her 50s woman.
What's wrong with?
I don't think
how are those different?
Well, you don't often live till you're 100. I don't know. But
all right, okay.
she didn't particularly seem Steve's type at all.
You really think in your 50s you're old, do you?
No.
Let's.
I'm not going to say that.
That's a ridiculous thing to say.
Because that's going to be us soon.
Michael,
I didn't say that.
You just said she can't be middle-aged because she's in her 50s.
Okay.
I say middle-aged.
Because I'm not middle-aged. Am I middle-aged
now? You are
now?
middle-aged.
Oh no.
Yeah, I say you're middle-aged until you retire.
You reckon?
Yeah, as soon as you retire, you're old.
Okay. Or very lucky and a lottery winner.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So Carol, it just didn't seem to me to be Steve's type, but she was really nice, and she was kind of a very normal, realistic-looking person that maybe Corrie's lacking a little bit. She wasn't. She
reminded me a bit of Connie Rathbone.
Yeah, you're right.
She wasn't as old as. I don't think she's as old as Connie.
She looks.
She's like a normal lady.
She looked like a well-lived woman.
Well, she's not unattractive, but she's not, Aurora.
Yeah, she hadn't done herself up sort of with a face full of slap. No, she wasn't. But I thought that Aurora she was nice. But Aurora, absolutely brilliant. I said to you that she reminded me a bit of Yana.
Yeah.
Just because.
But so did Demi today.
Somewhat.
I think Steve's picking him. I think Steve's secretly yearning for Yana.
Do you reckon?
I think he's subconsciously trying to manifest her.
Yeah, so she was very larger than life. She had, big hair. She was all done up. She was
gobby.
Proper gobby. She sparkled. Aurora did.
Oh, why don't you date her?
I thought that she was brilliant, and she's been brought on as Carol's wingman just to make sure that Steve's not a weirdo, which I think she missed the fact that he is a little bit. But anyway, she promises that they'll all be gone soon, just so that Steve and Carol can enjoy the night together. But when they all pile into the booth, it looks like that they're intending to stay for the long haul.
But Aurora takes a fancy to Tim, doesn't she?
Oh yeah.
She keeps trying to get him to join them, and he's kind of scared, actually.
Yeah, she's kind of clinging on to him later, and she's kind of tickling him and sexual harassment. It wouldn't accept it the other way, would it? No.
Oh no.
And this is when Sally comes in just in time to see Tim being molested by this horny woman, and Sally is not particularly impressed by this. Gives him his marching orders, saying, "Right, out you go, back home. We're going to talk about this." And her ultimatum to Tim is that you're not allowed to be friends with Steve anymore, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They're there folding sheets in the conservatory together, and she reads in the riot act a little bit and says you're not allowed to talk to him outside of work. Bit harsh, maybe. Although I guess she kind of explains herself on that bench scene in today's episode, like I'm worried if Steve's got a divorce, I'm worried that you're gonna want to get a divorce. But I've never felt any insecurity from Sally. about how Tim feels about her. That's a fairly rock solid couple, I'm gonna say.
There was that weird scene, wasn't there? Friday's episode where she's saying, "Oh, when people see us together, they think that I'm punching above my weight, and they all think that you're the handsome one." I was thinking, what?
It led to a nice little chip stealing scene on the bench.
But... I mean, they're both actors, so they're both attractive. But I would say of the two, the characters, Sally clearly takes more care of her appearance than Tim does.
He polishes his head every morning. What are you talking about?
But I'm only talking about the actors. I'm not talking about the characters, not the actors themselves. But, Sally's got a nice haircut and she's always well turned out and things. And Tim's just a man. Yeah.
A bit harsh on Sally, but it was still an entertaining watch because I do like to see Tim under her thumb. I thought it was funny when the girls eventually go and leave Steve and Carol in the booth, and then Aurora comes back and's like, "It's my number, can you pass on to Tim, please?" Funny. I really want to see her again, and I just know that we're not going to.
Is that not why Sally was right to be worried? Mm-hmm.
Well, Tim's not going to do anything about it, is he? He's not going to reciprocate.
You don't want to tempt someone on a soap, Michael.
Yeah, anyway. Bring back Aurora, that's what I say. Maybe they will. Maybe it was a tryout. But anyway, then we get that funny scene where Tim's... Has he taken the bins out or something? And Steve happens to be there. And Tim's got his Weddy County shorts on. And Steve says, "How are you not supposed to support them anymore?" But they have that little conversation. It's like, "Are you splitting up with me? But why?" So Sally won't let me. Sally won't let me play. Won't let me play with you anymore. It was better when they did it. It was silly, but very, very perfect for Tim and Steve, who have got an adorable bromance. And that's it for that story. For Friday. For Wednesday, that is. Friday, we get a return.
No, Demi texts.
Yeah, a return to the pot by Demi, who was the
return to the pot.
I don't know what I'm talking about. She was the one that he had seen on the other.
He's making a sexy stew.
She'd been on the other app, hadn't she? And then Steve thought that he was ghosting her.
No, she deleted her whole thing, didn't she?
No,
she asked
was
him
ghosting
out.
Him.
He asked her out, and she deleted the whole app.
Oh yes, that's it.
So maybe there's something more to this.
Demi more.
Maybe she's not even the same person.
I think that she probably is. I don't think that there's supposed to be anything. I don't think there's any secrets here. So anyway, for whatever reason, Demi contacts Steve
because he's hunky.
Yes. There's a few more funny little scenes between him and Tim. We find out that their WhatsApp group together is called Stim. What was the other one? Nina said that.
What was Plat Chat?
No, they were talking about... I think Corrie are too obsessed with Plat Chat.
I know, I think they need to drop it now.
It was funny the first couple of times.
Yeah.
But it's not funny anymore.
No, it's just...
Yeah. It's...
We get it.
We get it, yeah. But it's... The
thing is, they keep referencing it in the world of Coronation Street as though it's some desirable, hilarious thing. When it's only desirable and hilarious to us as viewers because the idea of Plat Chat is funny and it rhymes. But in the world of Weatherfield, I wouldn't give two craps whether or not they had a family chat called Plat Chat. I wouldn't care.
It just feels to me like whoever came up with the name Plat Chat.
Well, no,
it's not that person that's always putting it in the script, but it feels like it's
everyone wants
they're
to say
saying, "Hey,
look
how clever we are for coming up with this."
Well, no, they just reference that. How do you reference?
Anyway, so Steve goes, gets himself dolled up for the day. He's doused in Ken's aftershave, and then when he goes to the pub, Demi is there, hidden behind a newspaper. When you saw that, you were like, "What's this going to be?" And it did look like, when she put the paper down, she was going to look like something.
Tammy.
Or she was going to be actually Becky Granger. Or,
I know. I was like, what's this then?
There was no big reveal. It was just, it's a lady.
Yeah, it's a lady.
A lovely looking lady. So, Steve has, is lucked out there, I think. But she was, again, brilliant. I thought, how did you...
I thought she was great.
She was ballsy. She was just perfect for him. She's really into Wedding County as well. She finds him funny. They seem to get each other. It's just this immediate click and connection.
Wow.
And I was like, yes, get together. Tracy who?
She endears herself immediately to Steve by saying that she's a Weather County fan, and her mum used to work at the stadium, and you'll never guess who's the worst person in the world. It's Tommy Orpington.
That was so
He's
funny.
a big tosspot. And Steve looked like delighted. Like, I don't even think when Amy was born he looked as happy.
I'm not sure he was, to be honest, considering the circumstances of Amy's birth.
But, no, that's true. But he just looked absolutely beside himself with joy.
Yeah. It felt a little bit artificial, but in a way that didn't matter.
Satisfying.
It was satisfyingly, this is really fake, but I'm going
funny.
along with the ride.
If the soap's going to be fake in any way, do it in a comedic way.
So they toast having a cracking night, and they do. Sally and Tim come into the pub later after. Or was it before? I don't remember.
They come in and see the
Tim's kind of looking over curiously about it, and he's like, I can't believe he's pulled a banging bird there.
And Sally's annoyed because she wanted a PG and a.
Oh yeah, that was a great scene where she comes and orders a PG, and Sean's like,
"What is
tips?"
that? Yeah, that's what I thought she meant.
I know.
I think you get lynched if you didn't have Yorkshire tea.
That was hilarious. I mean, again, it doesn't make sense that Sally thinks there would be Pinot Grigio at the Rovers, considering that's been her local for the past nearly 40 years.
But I quite like them having funny little wine quips from Sally. Like, she wants to be into wine, but she doesn't know anything about it. So she knows ABC, which is anything but Chardonnay. And she knows PG, which means Pinot Grigio, which is a fancy kind of wine. I really like that. I want more silly, pointless wine quips from Sally, please.
Yes. Anyway, they have a lovely time. I think we've only got...
I want Sally to discover what wine mums are and call herself a wine mum.
What's that?
Just a mum that drinks wine.
I think she is one.
I know, but when she finds out that's a thing, she's going to love it.
She's going to join a group.
She'd probably start one.
Anyway, poor old Demi only gets about, 3 scenes, if she's tops, in that episode. I really hope that she is going to be back. I mean, we're left thinking, or being told,
no reason why she
yes,
wouldn't.
we will meet up again. But I was disappointed that for her debut episode, we didn't get a lot more, because clearly
doing this
they have struck gold with this actress and character and relationship. But maybe they're just eking it out. Maybe they're just teasing us.
But you think about how many new characters we have this week. You know, Denny, Demi, Aurora,
Carol.
I mean, 3 or 4. I mean, a couple of them, I think, are going to be in it for a while, a few weeks. So I think Denny and Demi are going to be in it for a while. Denny, sorry.
Demi, at the moment, is one of these characters where I'm already mourning the fact that she's probably not going to be in it for very long. Because after this all happens,
she's going to be Steve's wife number 8 or whatever it is.
It feels like it's just inevitable that Steve and Tracy are going to get back together. But, I mean, Tracy had it off with Tommy, and I think if I was a mate of Steve's, I'd be saying, cut her out of your life. Yeah. She's clearly bad for you. The story itself didn't particularly ring true, because their relationship breakdown just came out of nowhere, and it didn't quite work. But yeah, I think that I'd be perfectly happy if Demi stayed. But what's going to be the thing that puts her off Steve? Is Tracy going to come back and sling her out by her hair? Is she just going to get fed up with Steve being a bit of a doofus?
I think Tim's going to be jealous and break them up.
Do you think?
That'd be quite funny.
That would be good.
Yeah. I'm surprised that you want to be with Steve, Demi, because he said that you were...
That would be so funny if Tim was really petty and tried to split him up.
You're a butterface.
What's a butterface?
Everything's good but a face.
I'm learning so much from you today. Anyway, yeah, so I can't believe I'm saying this, but for a Steve and Tim storyline, that was absolutely cracking this week. It was a very lovely light relief and brought in some new characters that were instant hits for me, which doesn't happen very much.
Just to be clear, I'm not saying anyone in the show is a butterface.
Thank you.
Just using...
Right, back to misery and drama, Gemma, and more stupid special effects. Roy in prison, having a bit of a fall. What's up with him? What's up with him?
Nina wants to go to see Roy. Roy calls the cafe and Shona picks up and he asks, is Nina there? And Shona says, I don't think so. Oh, here's Carla actually. Do you want to talk to her? But Roy hangs up and Carla is just there looking...
She's not in his good books as she at the moment.
Well, he said, we broke up. We're not friends anymore. This week was about people not being friends with each other anymore. And like I said before...
Which is quite an achievement for a show where there aren't actually very many friends.
No. Also, you don't break up with your friends after the age of 5. You just drift away. You just stop talking to them. You just don't go around the house anymore, and it's quite easy to do that when someone's in prison. So, Roy has his projector vision moment with... he's like, oh, I think I've just about realised why I'm having these visions. When the bloody guard comes in, and he's like, get out of here.
Dave the guard comes in and interrupts his train of thought.
Yeah. Oh, I bet he'd love a train of thought. He's a train spotting. Maybe that's what they wanted to do, but they didn't have the budget for it. Like, instead of Roy projecting his thoughts onto the wall, he could just picture himself in a train, and that's his train of thought, and it's the train that he goes to when he wants to come and clarify his memories. And he'd put his little hat on, and he'd whoop whoop, and he'd put the coal in the fire.
And he's on his train of thought, and he goes, "Eureka! I've come up with it."
And he's going through the countryside, and there'd be like Lauren on a platform waving, going, "Roy, the secret is." Anyway, he almost had it, but no. Then we get Blobbly and Carla, and he reckons that they're going to be...
in it again.
They're going to be in the clear, because Roy's not told anybody. Because remember...
Oh, yeah. He's thinking, we got away with this.
The last time we saw Roy, he was calling D.F. Swain from his special prison phone. And she obviously hasn't... She does not the beck and call of prisoners.
Yes. That was the cliffhanger at the end of last week. And it seems that Roy's just said, I need to speak to you.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm not coming now. Oh, it's weekend. I don't work at weekends.
Yeah, I suppose it was...
There's no crime at the weekend.
I suppose it was fairly inevitable that Carla and Bobby weren't going to be accused or dropped in it by Roy, even after the cliffhanger.
Well, Nina's at the prison waiting to meet up with Roy, but he doesn't... He doesn't turn up, so she says, can you please go and check on him? At this point, I'd be gone. I'd be like, I'm not coming back to see him again. This guy is... like
heartless
again. I know, but I'm here. Like,
what else has Nina got in her life to do at the moment?
What else has he got to do with his life? If I come to visit in prison and you don't come out, I'm not coming. I'll come back once more.
He's having a funny turn, Gemma.
Well,
he's doing a summer in his cell, isn't he?
He falls over. The nice guard.
I thought that Corrie had called time on cliffhangers where characters are splayed out on the floor and going, oh no, are they okay? But
I thought he was just planking, because I missed that.
Well, Roy is a bit behind the time with the trends, isn't he?
He's just like...
about time that planking has caught up to him.
Somebody told me, this guy's been in prison for 15 years and he just told me about planking. Right, so the guard's like, oh gosh. And so they tell Nina she needs to go to the hospital. So Nina's at the hospital when Carla arrives and nobody's telling them anything, and Carla's there like a girl outside a nightclub going, oh, can I see Roy? They're like, not on the list, you're not on the list, you're not getting in. And Swain turns up and she's like, interesting that he's collapsed, and I want to talk to you because Roy called me yesterday. I was on my way to find out what he wanted, but I don't know. Do you have an idea?
Yeah, now he's in hospital. What's going on? I was like, you make her sweat, Swain. Carla, I have got no sympathy for you at the moment. Still telling this lie that stupid Bobby came up with. She deserves to not go and see Roy. I wash my hands of her.
Ugh.
Not helpful.
Broken up. So
I've broken up with Carla.
Swain, Roy's woken up, so Swain can go and talk to her. So Swain's allowed in because she's on the list, but Carla isn't, so she has to look through the window and watches.
And as soon as she was there behind Swain in the window, I was like, oh, Roy's going to see her, and then decide against...
Lurking around.
Decide against dropping her in it.
So Swain says to Roy, "What do you want to talk to me about?" And Roy's like, "I want to know how the case is going." And she's like, "What the hell? You're not. I'm not your. You can't call me around. I'm not your beck and call. If you do this again, I'll charge you with wasting police time." So then lots of people have said that there's a bit of sexual tension between Swain and Carla. And we definitely got told by the press. And did you bring this up with...
I think I brought it up with Vicky, I can't remember.
Vicky, who plays Swain.
Yeah.
That Swain is gay. So I think
and that she has got her eye on somebody possibly.
As soon as people, like fans, found out that Swain was gay, they were just shipping her off with everybody. And Swain and Carla, I think the internet would explode.
That would be a bit of a power couple, wasn't it? And I think that Carla possibly would be Swain's type.
I thought you said she was swayed by Swain. Yeah. There you go. There's a storyline title.
You.
So they kind of have a bit of a sparring session. And Swain's like, "I've got more innocent people to arrest," or something than she. So Bobley comes to the hospital later and is happy to hear that Carla says Roy's not told anybody anything. But Carla's still worried that he's going to say something. So eventually Roy calls Carla in to speak to him. And he's saying to her, "I don't think it's a good idea that I kept quiet. I'm not sure whether it was the right idea." And Carla just says, "Oh, I was just protecting Bobby." And Roy says, "Well, now I feel responsible because then I've got to find Lauren because they're on a wild goose chase." And he says, "Your deceit is something I cannot move past. I feel very uncomfortable and I'd rather you didn't visit me again. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, this is the end of our friendship." That's how you break up with somebody. And then he says, "Goodbye, like get out." When they eventually find out who did take Lauren, are they going to just ignore the fact that this person that Bobby made up clearly now doesn't exist? It's difficult to say. I know that in real life there have been high-profile cases where people have just got excited and involved themselves in police investigations just for attention. And that sometimes they get in a lot of trouble and sometimes they don't. I hope Bobby does. Yeah, throw him in prison. On Wednesday, Mary asks Carla if she wants to go to the hospital with her. And Carla's has not gone around telling everybody that me and Roy have broken up. But Carla just says that he's a bit messed up. He doesn't want to talk to me. So Mary goes to. She was fairly tolerable as well. Both Steve and Mary did not irritate me half as much this week as they usually do. Well, she's trying to cheer Roy up with a crossword puzzle, and she's very impressed with this. 3-letter word: farmyard animal. Oh, who was that? That was Tim, wasn't it? No, or Steve. Or was it someone else? I don't remember. Who was answering it? I can't remember. Sally, yeah, Tim and Sally. Yeah, and immediately Sally says cow, but as you said, it could have been pig, could have been ewe, ram, could have been ram. There's quite a few, plenty there. 3-letter farmyard animals. I thought it was funny that she just immediately said cow, and she didn't come up with any more. Anyway, I heard you. Thanks. So, Roy is impressing Mary with these skills, and he says, I just wish my big brain could remember. We are talking crossword solving skills and not the skill of projecting your memories onto the wall. Can you imagine that? It's like, hey Mary, look what I've picked up while I've been in prison. Just look at that wall over there. They had the projector sounds and everything, didn't they? Funny how. Really weird. It makes me wonder whether, if Max was trying to remember, do you think it would be like the sound of a PlayStation 4 booting up with a DVD in it or something? Do some people have the Netflix noise? Yeah, maybe. Or that that annoying jingle that YouTube plays when it's trying to get you to answer a survey. Well, Roy's memories did have adverts on him Wednesday's episode, didn't they? What was it advertising? Some that's going on ITV1 later. I don't know. And he's thinking that going, and it's just in the top corner of his mind, maybe I should watch it, but I'm in prison. I cannot stand it. when ITV puts little things in the corner to advertise a programme they got coming, when I'm a Celebrity comes. In fact, I don't think I've ever watched any of those. No. So don't bother. Anyway, what's Mary and Roy up to? He's saying, look, I'm trying to remember this conversation that I know I heard Lauren having with Max. It feels like it was really important. So Mary says, visualise it. Mary, that's not the problem, love. We've seen it ourselves. He doesn't need to visualise it. He looks like he's about to go into a trance and then snaps out of it. And Mary's just like, don't worry, he will remember. And then when she tells everybody back at the cafe, they're like, oh, if only we could help him. Grease up his projector, that'll help. Roy gets Dave to give the prison guard to give him a pen and notebook, and says he's going to try to remember his memories and thoughts and dreams to stimulate memories better. Then he has another projection, and he realises that it's the necklace that he's supposed to be focusing on.
Hallelujah. We've been talking about this for months, Roy. If only you'd listened to our podcast, that necklace, you'd have been out by now. So
I know that he's got a phone in his room, but does he have the internet?
I'm gonna say no.
Does he have podcast listening facilities?
Possibly.
Because I was saying to you that we should set up something a bit like the talking clock, but for a podcast. So when you phone a number, it would be like, at the tone, we'll explain 3 theories about where Lauren is at the moment.
So this necklace, I don't know whether it was supposed to be, at this point, whether it was supposed to be, aha, audience, you'd forgotten about that necklace, hadn't you? I'm thinking it possibly was.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that, we went through all the clues. I don't think we missed any...
I don't think we missed any clues, but...
anything that wasn't obvious, but the necklace was definitely an obvious clue.
Yeah. And the necklace is what we, and many others, we're not saying we're super brains here, but linked to Nathan as well, didn't we? So,
yes. So on Friday, Roy is on the phone to Dee Dee later, and he's talking to her, and he's like, I've got this memory, the necklace, I think that it was given to her by her boyfriend, and if you can trace who bought that, then it might be linked to what happened to Lauren. And then he's drawn a picture of it. He thinks it's pretty accurate because he traced it off the wall. And Dee Dee's quite pleased, and Roy's like, yes, I might be feeling optimistic.
I used to do that with the overhead projector at school back when we had those. If I wanted to make a big picture of something, I'll project it onto the wall and then draw around it. Yeah, but yeah, Roy's quite the artiste, isn't he? He's muscling on Nina's territory there.
So what are we thinking here then? Do we reckon this makes it right? Because Dee Dee, we suspect Joel. And we suspect Nathan, okay?
Yes.
And I've definitely got my dual...
Somebody posted a picture of them on our Facebook group, and they do look very, very
I said
similar.
I think that... Did I not say
brothers,
I thought they were related?
You have said that.
Okay.
That I'm more and more buying the brothers theory.
Right. Is she going to recognise this in some cockamamie way that we haven't seen her... Because we never saw this thing that Joel bought.
What, that you said he bought for Maeve?
Yeah, maybe this jewellery shop is like a jewellery shop that does charms, and maybe on this bracelet that he bought for Maeve, it had like an M in the same font style as this. Oh no, it's not though, is it? It's not now. All right. Yeah.
No, it's a little.
It's a different thing.
It's an oblong with an orange.
But maybe is Dee Dee going to recognise this because of her link to Joel? I think it's a bit early for that. But she's now in a position where she's the one who's pursuing this clue. And this clue could be linked to Nathan or Joel.
If Joel's working for Nathan, and Nathan's thing is that he still gives the same necklace to all the girls that he grooms, then it could well be that Joel has got a stash of these necklaces. So potentially Dee Dee could be going through Joel's things for whatever reason, and then find boxes and boxes of this necklace. Yeah.
That would be so creepy.
I don't know how Dee Dee thinks at the moment she's going to try and find about this necklace.
Well, what do you think she's supposed to go? Oh, I don't know how to do that. Don't bother telling me, Roy.
Well, because she can speak to Max or Sabrina or someone, and if Sabrina's still in the show, and say, look, tell me about this, and then what can they say other than her boyfriend said that they got it, and it was around
investigate.
It was around December
time.
How do you
investigate anything?
Maybe it will just be, and it'll be a little bit tenuous if they say, oh, I think it was the first week of December, and she'll go, hang on a minute,
Wait.
Joel went to a jeweller's.
But she'll know, won't she? Because she saw the receipt, which jeweller's it is.
Yeah.
So she could go there and see if they've got the same for sale. It's
probably just blooming Bargainanza or whatever at the precinct, isn't it? Because everybody buys everything from there now. It's
probably Argos.
Could be.
Beaverbrooks.
So I don't know. It doesn't feel like she's going to be easily able to trace that from there, but I'm glad that it's been brought up at last. Are we close? Are we close to finding out who Lauren's boyfriend is?
No.
It doesn't feel like it, does it? But it kind of should be. When's Britain's Got Talent week again? 4 weeks away? Oh, maybe. I don't know. I genuinely don't know if Kate Fitton's gone back to work, and I think if she had, they would.
You say go back to work, like you know that she's going to go back to work.
Yeah, but I think if
she were to return,
go back to work, they
haven't seen her go back.
Yeah, and I don't think that they would be advertising the fact.
Of course, they're not going to.
But anyway, I'm glad that's all coming out.
Anyway,
what we know about the necklace is that it was on the side next to the little doll statue when Roy went round to see Lauren.
Yeah.
But then when Bobby came in and found the flat empty, the necklace was gone.
Yeah.
So that necklace was taken when Lauren left. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. But
all she needs to do is go on Twitter anyway and go like, hey everyone, I saw this really great necklace on Coronation Street. Can anyone help me track it down?
Oh yeah, Soapstar.
Soapstar will help you.
Right.
Ask the wardrobe department.
Let's move on to the Alya story.
Ask the actress. Sometimes they know what brand it is.
Nobody can get hold of her. So the Alya story. This is where the week really started to go downhill. I mean, I wasn't super invested in the Roy stuff this week, to be honest. But with this story, do you know what? I didn't know what was going on.
Do you know what I hate about Alya? Right, every time I try and give her a chance,
I know
she blows it.
I know. We loved Alya for one episode a couple of weeks ago when Adam was being particularly
annoying,
to
obnoxious.
her about it,
and she got one over on him, and you're like, yeah, go on, Alya, I'm rooting for you.
She couldn't let it rest.
I want to like you, and then she's really like, guess what? I'm still insufferable and smug, and
it's
also so makes so many bad decisions. And I think I'm so brilliant. Oh God, do you know? She reminds me of like. There's always some girl at school that's like this. Who's got perfect handwriting and nice little neat everything and a little bag and all of her nice uniform. Always looks nice and glossy and perfect and thinks she's so great, but she's not.
I hate being horrible to characters sometimes when they're genuinely
just
supposed to be nice characters.
She's just trying her
when
best.
They're supposed to be nice characters, like Alya, really annoying, but we're not supposed to find her annoying.
No.
Same with Summer. As well.
They're just annoying, prissy, annoying.
Yeah. And from everything I hear, Sair Khan is absolutely lovely and charming.
And she's about to embark on an amazing adventure with a new family. And I'm like...
What? She's pregnant?
Alya, I really hate you. Oh my God.
I have got absolutely nothing against Sair Khan.
No, I think she's great. She did...
Or Harriet Bibby.
No.
But
don't know them.
This story was... Did anybody follow what was going on with all the legal stuff this week? Can somebody tell me?
Does anybody like Alya?
I think there's probably a few Alya fans out there, but...
She's just so annoying.
I think that this week could literally be summarised as... No, I don't... I'm going to sound like I really don't know what I'm talking about here, but... Alya is... her absence is being felt in Barlow's legal services because her elite solicitor skills are no longer there, and now Dee and Adam can't find any papers or something.
What was her job? Because it seems as though she just did everything.
I don't know.
Like she was a receptionist, she answered the phone, she organised the paperwork, she also did legal things.
But then she got annoyed when Adam was telling her to make cups of coffee, even though that was her job, because she's got ideas about her station. I don't know.
She leaves her shoes there. What is she doing? What's her job?
Adam
that she
decides,
can leave shoes there.
Adam decides and he tells Dee that maybe they should stop working with Fabian's, which is this company that Alya now works with. And Dee's like, you're just being petty against Alya. We can't. We got to work with these people.
Well, we're not getting paid off Roy.
And then we get a conversation with Alya and Rich phone up. Rich from Fabian's and say, let's Fabian, I don't bloody know, Felon, whatever. And he's pretty peed off that he has to, that she's there being a brilliant secretary for this fancy pants company.
She's not a secretary.
Or whatever she is.
She's training there.
Is she? See, I don't even know that.
Adam's so bloody
I just
obnoxious.
switch off when this story comes on.
I hate Adam as well. What kind of a dickhead takes a phone call on speaker in an office? Every time he takes a phone call, he puts it on speaker. I hate people that do that.
It's for the audience, for the
Lift
benefit of the
your phone
audience.
up and talk like a human being.
He tries to make out that he's really, really chocker and can't possibly manage a meeting with her, but then we see in his diary...
No, hang on.
It's on a Wednesday, isn't it? We see his diary and the Wednesday is completely blank, and he says tomorrow, so it's supposed to be Tuesday when that episode's on. And
well, that wasn't the point of that, Michael. The point was that Alya had insider information that he always leaves his diary free on a Wednesday, and she knew that when he said he was busy, that he was available.
Really? So much of this story I missed. Literally, I was just asleep when this story came on. It was not interesting.
I'm surprised you ever followed a single episode of The Apprentice.
I don't care about loyalty things, especially, ever since Imran's gone, that whole office can catch on fire as far as I'm concerned. But we find out at the end of Monday's episode that Alya is being poached, and she's
already been poached.
She's been poached, but she's been sent off to Dublin.
She heard that we went to Belfast and she got confused and and wanted to go to Dublin.
So
they're two different places, Alya.
Alya and Rich come to Barlow's solicitors on Wednesdays, and Alya says, I'm going to Dublin, and Adam's like, oh, I'm so pleased for you. He says he is. Then there's kind of like
weird
flirtiness that comes out of nowhere.
Some men get very attracted when women are pregnant, I think.
She's not pregnant.
In the show, she's not.
And
but I think it's definitely
Adam
the pregnancy
says that
brain.
Rich is ironic. Adam says that Rich is arrogant, and Alya says that that's ironic, and Dee Dee's making fun of Adam for fancying Alya. It was just so
it came completely out of nowhere, didn't it? They've been building it. They've been doing this. What? 2 weeks they've been trying to make us believe
I've
that
not felt anything
Alya
between them before.
And Adam secretly fancy each other. I can't believe that this would ever... I just can't believe it would happen.
So she comes round there on Friday, more obvious flirting between Alya and Adam, which eventually leads him to saying... because she says, I don't date anyone from work. Don't worry, I don't fancy Rich. And Adam's like, I don't want you to like Rich. I want you to like me. She's like,
Shut
do.
Up.
And they snog. And then, of course, Rich chooses that exact moment to walk in on them. And he's not happy that Alya's snogging Adam. And, maybe I shouldn't send you to Dublin after all. And Alya's like, but I want to go to Dublin.
No, I've blown my big chance.
And Dee decides that maybe she should go to Dublin because it would put a bit of distance between her and Adam. She's going to Dublin, isn't she?
Why would Rich not immediately fire this ditzy-headed moron who was left alone with a client for 5 minutes and immediately started snogging his face off? Also,
because she's really, really good, Gemma.
She's so good.
We can't forget
Wouldn't you immediately have...
She's a prodigy.
Have incredible suspicions about this woman. You poached off this company who said that she was giving you all the best clients and then turned out to be having an affair with the boss.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you be like, are these really good clients?
Are you a mole?
Are you still working for him?
Yeah.
I gave you a free laptop case and a drinks and a
a little fancy gold coffee cup.
And you were really happy with that. So weirdly happy that I don't think you've ever been given anything in your life before.
Tell you what, Adam wanted to give her one. Hey. Honestly,
who'd have thought she was so easy to bribe? All we had to do was buy her a laptop case.
This story was utter dull drivel. It
turned Alya into even more of an idiot than she already is.
Yep, it is, because Adam is... Why would Alya fancy Adam? He's clearly...
He treats her like dirt.
Yeah, and he's a wrong un, and he's a player, and he treats women badly, and he drops them.
She's seen all the things he's got up to, and she's like, seems like a good guy to me.
Whereas she has always been... I know that, she her first time between the sheets was a man with Jason, who's also a bit of a ladies' man.
A man with Jason?
What? No? What did I say? She bonked Jason first.
Well, she's...
But... She needs to settle down with the nicer, the boring person herself.
Without wanting to be too presumptuous, cannot see Adam being in any way supportive of her faith. Like, if she's like, Adam, it's Ramadan, I can imagine him going, you don't believe in all that crap, do you? You're not going to not eat during the day, that's silly. You're not going to drink. I
don't see what he sees in her, apart from she's good looking.
I just think he'd make fun of her for everything that she believes in. I don't think he believes in anything except money.
incompatible. It's unbelievable. And it just, and me watching it is like, well, they're just clearly thrown this together to have some kind of big climactic explosion of passion before she bogs off to Dublin so that Sair can have her baby. Utterly needless.
I mean, they both got really
dull as you like, because it was all business and lawyer stuff.
They both got glorious raven hair.
Yeah, they do.
And that's about all they've got in common.
Oh, move on. That was boring.
It wasn't boring. It was silly.
Was boring. It was really
That's because you didn't know what was going on.
I didn't know what was going on.
As soon as people start talking about when you're free for a meeting, you're like...
Sorry, that did not do it for me this week. Off your trot, love.
Don't you enjoy watching business scenes where they say that the company is in dire straits and they have to keep this one client because they're the ones that are bringing all the money in?
The saving grace in this story was Dee Dee, because she's still great, but she didn't have a whole lot to do.
Dee Dee's like, you're both idiots.
Yeah. Right, so there we go. On to our One Direction storyline then, Gemma. Liam Payne. What's he been up to this week? Again, All
right, okay. On Wednesday,
I did not care for him this week.
Liam...
Or his anxieties, sorry.
Liam and Maria... Oh no, Liam's got his breakfast in the cafe and he explains that he's getting his breakfast because Maria didn't have shopping in. Is this a big deal, is it?
He's having his breakfast on his own.
And Nina mentions the fact that Liam had breakfast there.
And also that he was a bit miserable.
And so Maria gets worried and rings the school. And then Maria tells Gary that she phoned the school and that the teacher's going to phone her back. And she also can't get in touch with CAMS, which is the ones that are supposed to be helping her for his mental health. The mental health room, yeah. And they're going to have to just pay for therapy.
I like how you said the teacher's supposed to be dealing with it. We know which teacher you're talking about. The only teacher at school, Mrs. Crawshaw.
Liam's listening and he is concerned about the fact that they're having to go to all this trouble, I suppose.
Yes.
Then they find out about this martial arts class that he's signed up for it, and they're like, oh, that's really good. And then she starts asking him about the private therapy, and he says, no, I'll wait for CAMS. I feel better. Like, is he? I think he's scared that he doesn't want him to spend money, right?
Maybe.
So
I can't really read what he's thinking. He's just difficult. Concerned and anxious about things.
On Friday, Maria is fussing over the fact that Liam's got to go for his lessons, and he then starts voggling diazepam, which is also known as Valium, which is a brand name for it. Then he puts the phone down quickly when Sally turns up, and she tries to talk to him, but he's not really interested. And then Joseph turns up, and they go into the martial arts class together, and they come out.
They did name this martial art about 5 times in the episode. It's like, I haven't heard of it, and I'm not writing it down.
It's Jeet Kune Do, which is actually...
I think that's made up.
Well, it is made up. Everything's made up. It was actually created by Bruce Lee. So I don't understand why they were talking about going to watch Jackie Chan movies, because it wasn't invented by Jackie Chan. So they've had this class, and Liam and Joseph are in the cafe later, and Liam obviously wasn't... Well, Joseph accuses him of not getting involved in it, even though he's telling Maria that he had a great time. And then over dinner that Maria's made with, 5 million cloves of garlic, Liam tells Maria he's going to go around Joseph's tomorrow to watch some Jackie Chan movies. He obviously wasn't paying attention to a single thing that happens in this class. And she's very pleased to hear he's being sociable. But when he heads off to his room, he takes a puff of his inhaler. Like, I kind of
read into that he's not actually going around Joseph's house tomorrow to watch Jackie Chan movies, and he's just told a big old whopper to his mum.
What's he up to?
I don't know. I think Maria even mentioned it, that it was odd that Joseph and Liam were hanging out together because of the age difference, but to me it just felt like they thought, which character should we have also go to martial arts together? I don't know, we haven't done much with Joseph recently.
It's a shame he didn't get into it, because I would thought that it could actually be of great help to him in a way, like self-defense, you know.
Maybe that's going to be the ultimate showdown between him and Mason.
You should do judo flip.
Well, didn't they mention that? I can't remember when Maria was talking to Sean outside, and she says, he's just going to his judo class or something. So she's clearly got no idea what she's talking about. Anyway, yeah, whatever for that story, I'm afraid. But we did have the Leanne story on Monday, which was lovely.
Oh my God. Leanne, she's been like... Oh, it's like she's she's been replaced by a Stepford wife, okay, up until Monday's episode, when she suddenly turns back. It's like all of the bitchiness has been concentrating within her, and then it bursts out on Monday.
Eventually, at the beginning, she's telling Nick that he can buy a giant TV, isn't she?
What a great wife.
Perfect. They haven't really got room for a big TV in that flat.
Where would they put it?
When's that ever stopped a man getting a big 70-incher, eh?
Where are you going to put that?
She says that he deserves it. Maybe that's why we see him squinting all the time, because he's actually just watching his tiny TV. And then they'll get a big screen when he's like, oh, I get it, I don't need to squint anymore.
Do you think Nick sits down in the evening and Leanne goes, right, it's time for telly, and she wheels out one of those school ones.
Yeah. And he sits there just squinting for the next 3 hours, and then his face just stays that way.
Oh dear.
Anyway,
she's excited about her street food.
Yeah, she's deciding that she's going to do street food market stuff at the bistro.
I wish people would stop doing this.
Why?
Stop saying you're doing street food.
Coronation street food.
Stop doing it. It's really lame. You're not doing street food. It's just starters with a different name. Also, I hate what people in this country have done to katsu curry. And I also do not like how suddenly everyone's into Korean food without actually knowing what it is. Stop doing it. You don't know what you're doing.
Is everybody suddenly into Korean food?
If you look on menus, suddenly there's all these things like, oh, it's Korean chicken. What do you think that means? Because I can tell you right now, it's not what you think it is.
It's a very specialised set of aggravations that are winding you up at the moment.
I remember when suddenly I started seeing people going, oh, I love katsu curry. Oh, I love katsu curry. And I was like, oh, that's good. And then it just becomes apparent you don't even know what katsu curry is. You don't know what it is. Stop doing it. Call it something else.
What is it then?
What do you mean, what is it?
Well, I think I know what it is, but what do other people think it is?
They just put some horrible gloopy curry sauce on like a breaded chicken.
You are a expert in all things Asian cuisine.
Okay, it just really annoys me. Katsu curry. I made some katsu curry dippers. No, you haven't. You've made soggy chicken nuggets with a curry dip. It's not katsu curry. Stop it.
You should be like a Gordon Ramsay who visit your restaurant inspector and say, "What the hell do you think this is? Katsu curry? This is just soggy chicken nuggets and brown sauce. What are you on about?"
That would be tonkatsu sauce, Michael.
Anyway, Nick tells Toya about this pop-up restaurant idea, and Toya's like, well, that sounds alright, actually. And then then we get the thing about him asking whether she wants to step up to manager's position. I didn't really get what was going on there, but she's not up for it anyway. Did you want to explain this?
Why are you, as soon as anyone says anything businessy, you're like, I don't understand.
Why was Nick asking Toya if she wants to be manager then?
For plot purposes.
Who is the manager currently?
Maybe it's Leanne and she's just being crap.
I don't know. But Toya says I'm a mess at the moment. Remember last week? And that was the only mention that we get of her massive revelation that she had.
Toya's definitely overstating how much.
I thought you were going to say Toya's definitely over the fact that she...
It's like, it was last week. I don't remember. Toya's definitely has a lot of good thoughts about what a manager is that aren't in reality. Anyone can be a manager. You can totally be a complete mess and still be a manager.
Anyway, so Toya's had a bit of a brainwave later. She's found a scheme for re-educating or giving jobs to employing ex-offenders. How about we get some...
When she said that...
They've literally just got rid of Damon.
When she came out and said that, I thought she was talking about herself. When she was like, I found a scheme for ex-offenders, I thought she was going to say, we get a tax break for employing me as manager. But no, she's not talking about it. She's like, I wasn't found guilty, actually, just because I did it.
She's just changed herself to a few railings. Leanne's like...
What?
Well, she's
what did you
flirted with the law, hasn't she? And that she's...
Oh, she chained herself to a few railings.
Yeah.
I thought you said she treated herself to a few aliens.
What were we talking about having to enunciate everything very clearly on the podcast and radio earlier on? Sorry.
As long as you don't swear, it's okay.
Anyway, Leanne's like, no way. We don't want any ex-cons in our bistro. It makes...
How rude! Your sister killed a man! You know that she did. She's like, we won't want a criminal hanging around here. Well, you can't have any customers then.
It's consistent with what she was saying about Damon, but Leanne, you are not whiter than white, although you have absolved yourself of all your sins since last Friday's upload session.
Yeah, she's like, oh no, not having that sort of people hanging around here. As soon as that happens, the whole place goes downhill.
I thought that Leanne was quite negative there, considering that she had decided to turn over a new leaf.
Well, it's clearly the Institute talking. They obviously have a chapter about criminals.
There's a little bit more insinuation that Nick and Toya are heading unstoppably
they have a little
towards
smug
an
charity
affair,
chat, the sort of thing that Toya had with Tommy Orpington, do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
He's like, oh, I like charity. And she's like, oh, I like charity as well.
Yeah, but in this one, Toya stroked Nick's shoulder and said, oh, Nick, you're always able to cheer me up.
Shut up. No, he's not.
We don't want this. We don't want this.
Leave him alone. Toya, just leave him alone.
Get out of that bistro. Don't you ever even look at Nick again.
We need to get Nick that TV immediately.
Yes.
Because he won't pay any attention to anything. Once he's got that giant television, he'll be there watching, I don't know, Richard Attenborough's nature documentaries. He's dead.
Anyway, so it's so maddening. I almost just want them to get on with it now.
Which is worse, Alya and Adam, or Toya and Nick?
Well, clearly Toya and Nick is worse.
Just asking you.
Clearly. I mean, when Alya and Adam was snogging, it's like, well, I know she's going to go off on a maternity leave soon, so it's not going to develop into anything. Maybe it will when they get back. I find them a bit boring as characters now. If they want to be boring together, why not? It was just a bit silly and a dull story this week. But my skin crawls every time I think about Toya and Nick having an affair together.
Oh my god. Is it because you like... Is it like... What is the problem?
It's because Nick's a bit of a dullard, isn't he?
He's not. I don't think he is.
And I quite
like Nick. I like how...
I don't like the idea of Toya stealing Leanne's man and having the two Battersby sisters together. And, you know, he's a bit of a downgrade from Imran.
Well, I was going to say, Nick would not be the first one to have a go at both Battersbys, would he?
I know.
How come it's all right when Imran does it?
She needs somebody that's good and not just boring and squinty. Sorry.
Michael!
Right. What are we given this week's Coronation Street,
It's
Gemma?
clearly acting. Nick is acting. Ben Price is acting.
I've got no price with... no problem with Ben Price.
I'm just saying.
No problem with Ben Price.
Just to be clear, because we're very firm about not making fun of the way people look, but he clearly chooses to squint. It's not like his face, the wind didn't blow a different way one day and he's still that way. It's clearly a choice he's making to squint, so it's okay to point that out.
We get sent the preview pictures for Coronation Street a couple of weeks early, and usually I stay right away from them, but there's one for a couple of weeks away, and there's a picture of Nick who's pulling a proper old Nick face in it. Anyway, this week's Coronation Street was just okay. I kind of enjoyed the Paul stuff, although it was certainly by no means a highlight in the whole epic journey of Paul and his MND diagnosis, which as a whole I'm loving. Denny was kind of fun to watch. I thought the scene where Paul was having fun in the Rovers was fun. The Sixth scene was quite affecting.
It reminds me of the scene in Sixth Sense where Misha Barton throws up in a tent.
Is that the Sixth Sense or the Sixth Sense?
Sixth Sense.
I can tell. I'm about to chunder. I thought that the Bernie and Dev scene absolutely fantastic. Demi, loved her. Roy's story was so. I can't be doing with Carla at the moment and her or pitying herself about not being able to go and visit him.
Gonna call the story next week. Demi Moore, please.
Yes, we can do if you want. I thought that this week's Corrie was. I mostly liked it. I'm gonna give it 3.5 shots under par, so an albatross and a bit. Out of 5.
I was gonna say 3, but I gave it 2 bog standards and a banging, and you gave it 3 bog standards.
Yeah, we used to. They don't always
correlate, do they?
No.
Maybe I'm being.
I think that the good parts of it just took it up a slight. I think if the Steve and Tim story hadn't impressed me so much, this would definitely be 3, maybe even 2.5 territory.
No, I think I'm sticking for 3.
The stories that didn't interest me didn't have lots of scenes. We didn't have loads of Alya. We didn't have loads of Maria. So you can go for 3. What are you voting
3
3 of?
secret children I keep in an ornate tin.
Hidden
in my front room.
Nice. Character of the week this week. I say that Tim's quite a strong contender. I enjoyed watching Tim this week.
No.
I thought that Paul's always solid, but I didn't want to go for him as an easy choice of, he was, Peter did some great dramatic acting, therefore I will vote for him. I'm really, really tempted, and I think I will vote for Aurora. I really was taken by her. Yeah. Aurora and Demi were both really strong choices, and so many characters get brought in just for mini appearances, but both of them were like, I think you're brilliant.
You're a bit too excited about this dating malarkey, Michael.
I know. Are you getting a bit worried like Sally is?
Yeah. I'm not going to have you hanging around
who
is
your
Steve.
character of the week? Who's your
obviously.
character of the week?
Oh, dear me.
You got to decide. I can only fill it in dead air so long, Gemma.
Okay, bit out of left field here.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to Asha because I really loved seeing her in a little student outfit, because we'd heard her talk about being a paramedic, but we hadn't actually seen her doing it. And I thought that Tanisha Gorey did a fantastic job of being believably Asha, but also being a paramedic at the same time. And I don't think you can say the same thing with Craig when he's a policeman. You're like, shut up, Craig, you don't know what you're talking about.
You have justified your choice well there.
I
can't criticise you for picking someone who only had a very minor role in the week when I've just picked Aurora. I
feel so proud of Asha, because Tanisha Gorey is so sweet, and I've met her in real life, and I think she's a really lovely person. So I kind of feel like I've watched her grow into a woman, and now she's got her first job, and I feel like a proud aunt. Ashley, you're doing a really good job, and she's looking after people, and she knows. And she was saying, I know about MND, and I wonder, in that line, it makes me wonder whether Ash, and this is just adding my own fan fiction to this, but I wonder whether Ash has gone, my neighbour Paul, one day he might need help, so I'm going to look and see what kind of things I need to know about MND, because I don't believe that somebody who is a trainee paramedic in their first year would know something very specific about MND.
No,
I think you
not.
Probably would, learn some bits and bobs about things.
You learn how to put someone's arm in a sling.
Well, you'd learn I think they're very intelligent and they know what they're doing, but I just think that was very in-depth knowledge that obviously I think you would know if you're a qualified paramedic. But it just makes me happy to imagine Asha being so conscientious to go, I better just make sure that I know.
Is she like Hermione, who read the whole of Hogwarts of history,
I think she might be.
even though the chapters weren't necessarily all needed for the first?
But I love all of our little Corrie, young women, because I think they're all little Hermiones, aren't they? That's why I like them.
A lot of them are at the moment. A lot of them are. Okay, well, so not the best week of Coronation Street. Certainly not as hard hitting and controversial as last week with Toya. Bit more of a lull week, but there was definitely a lot to like in here as well. So there we go.